Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Today on our program, we have with us the founder of ABGA and the national chairman of UPP. Chief Chewas Okorie, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Well, recently, you picked holes in a statement made by the wife of Chief Admiral Ojukwu, late Chief Admiral Ojukwu, when she said that ABGA was her husband's legacy. Why did you ruffle your feathers?
Well, actually, I was thoroughly disappointed when Ambassador Bianca Odumegwu, the wife of late Chewas Okorie, made that statement that was clearly mischievous. I began to wonder what indeed happened to honor and what happened to integrity. Because this lady knew everything about my long-standing association with her husband, association that began even before they started their courtship that led to their marriage. For 22 odd years, I had very close association with the Modern. And so the journey to founding ABGA, to a large extent, was also known to her. And ABGA was not a chance event, it was not an accidental discovery. It was a product of some dream and desire. Dream in the sense that we needed Igbo people had to break the jinx of not founding a political party in Nigeria based on Igbo initiative. And I found out that none was founded on those terms before we began to make our efforts. And Bianca, Mrs. Odumegwu is a lawyer, well exposed, well trained, and she knows what it means to found. To found is to initiate. To form can involve many people, but it takes one person to initiate a project, and then it takes many people to form it, to bring it to fruition. So I had initiated this effort to found a political party, a national political party, based on Igbo initiative 3 times: 1996, 1998, and then 2002. It was the other 2 did not succeed for reasons that is for another day. For the third attempt, due to perhaps what many know me for, consistency in whatever I believe in, I went for the 3rd time, and my associates, some of them are still with me, believed in that dream, and we succeeded. When we succeeded, it was like achieving an impossible task. It was so well received by the Igbo people, even by the Modern Ojukwu himself. Because when I came back home to a tumultuous reception at the Enugu Airport, International Airport, which is now Dr. Kanu International Airport, we took the certificate straight to the Modern Ojukwu, who saw it and gave me a beer hug and shed tears of joy. In the presence of so many people, it was all reported in the media. And the Modern Ojukwu was still a member of the board of trustees of APP, All People's Party, at that time. APP, of course, later became ANPP. From the Modern, and he, of course, he came out and gave me a carton of Moe Chandon, which was rare in the sense that that was the very first time I got any gift from him in the long years of association. So I so cherished it that it took a long time before that carton of champagne was exhausted. Whoever I brought out a bottle to share with, I told him the story of the champagne. That was the kind of attachment I gave to that very gift. Then we proceeded to now late Dr. Chewas Okorie, who told me before the media people that accompanied me, they said, Chewas, it will only take a possessed man to achieve what you have achieved. Based on the number of times you have consistently insisted on this, and we thought it would be possible, and here you are. That was the way he acknowledged it. We moved from Dr. Chewas Okorie's place to now still the retired Justice Ozobo, who was the President General for Hannes and Dibo at the time. His own was another emotional drama, because he first stopped us at his gate to rush in and brought out a giant bottle of champagne, opened it, and poured nearly half of it on my feet. Told me to remove my shoes. And he was making incantations and making speeches, and said if he died that day, he will now know what to tell Dr. Azikiwe and Dr. Michael Obara where he would meet them. That his eyes saw a party that Igbo people could call their own. And this was happening on the 26th of June 2002. Because the party was actually registered on the 24th. 30th of June, a few days after, was the first Ohanese general meeting at Asaba. I took the certificate there and presented it to the General Assembly of Ohanese. It was another big reception. It was there and then that Justice Ozobo announced that I will be given the title of Obatulemi Dibo, that is the person who killed an elephant for his people. A month after that Ohanese meeting again came up at Abakaliki, where he now actualized that pledge, and I was so conferred with that title. So that as we speak, I am the only person, living or dead, that holds an Ohanese title as a result of that accomplishment. So it wasn't something that was done hidden. In fact, it was in the month of September of that same year, 2002, that the Modume Wojubu, before then, in that very Ohanese meeting at Asaba, part of what Justice Ozobo as President General of Ohanese did was to urge the Modume Wojubu to go and join ABGA, so that Igbo people will know for sure that this indeed is their party. He didn't do that immediately. 3 months after, in September 2002, in an event in which I accompanied him, like I said, we had this close association. We traveled home and abroad together. At Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, that is a student event. It was there that he brought out his APP card, membership card, and tore it. So, Ojukwu again was a man of drama, to demonstrate the fact that he had left APP. And they told them that he would soon announce his new party. He didn't say it was ABGA. It was only on the 24th of December, in his residence at Enugu here, number 4 Isuzo Street, where he was living with Bianca as wife, that we negotiated to make him presidential candidate. And Justice also took his hand, the hand of the Modume Wojubu, and put in my own hand and said, Chief Chewas Okorie, go and make this man presidential candidate. And witnesses who are still alive include Dr. Joe Wong, Prince Richard also, Chief HBC Oboko, who was the public secretary of Nigeria at the time, Chief Onwukokwa. All these people are still alive. And on the 24th, on the 26th, that is because the next day will be Christmas Day. On the Boxing Day, 26th of December, I convened a world press conference at Zodiac Hotel here in Enugu and proposed the Dimodumegwu as a presidential candidate. At Abuja, first week of January, I signed his membership card of ABGA in order to enable him complete his form as a presidential candidate. On the 10th of January, at the old parade ground at Abuja, in the National Convention of the party, which we have on video and was reported all over Nigeria and abroad, I raised his hand, gave him flag, and made him and announced him presidential candidate, and the convention ratified him. So, throughout the Dimodumegwu Ojukwu's life, he never for one day laid claim to founding ABGA, because it would have been.
No, but what the wife said was that ABGA
was his legacy.
ABGA was his legacy.
How could it be a legacy if he didn't found it? How on earth will
maybe his association, maybe his coming in and the milestones that came with his
no, it makes no sense. Nobody joins a thing, it becomes his legacy for joining. Mm-hmm. You know, I've never seen that. If you ask me, his legacy was the defunct Biafra. And he had other accomplishments that he could refer to. For instance, his father's wealth cannot be his legacy. That is why it's a matter in dispute in court. Because his father's wealth is his father's wealth, which is owned by the children of the man, and that is why they are still in dispute up to today. So, how can something I founded? There couldn't be two persons to lay claim to ABGA as his legacy. If I founded ABGA and later founded UPP, that has placed me on the history book as one of 4 Nigerians that founded 2 political parties in their lifetime. But if ABGA suddenly would turn to become the Dimodumegwu Ojukwu legacy, then that other claim that I founded 2 parties and I would not stand. So it couldn't have been his legacy. But there was no doubt that ABGA was already well known and well celebrated by the time he joined. But he was indeed an icing on the cake. There's nobody that can take that away from him.
Yeah.
Coming into ABGA gave it new life and new relevance, and it spread faster and grew faster. All of his contributions in terms of his stature, charisma that he brought to bear on ABGA cannot be taken away from him. But please don't give him what is not his.
Well, you know, when we talk about ABGA and Chief Chewas Okorie, it's a story of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Especially to the point where you had to leave ABGA. So when you look back, how do you tell that story?
Well, a book is coming really, you know, it is in the work in progress. But because you have asked, I pity my Igbo people more than I pity myself. More than I also pity my associates who lost out along with me. What happened to ABGA set Igbo people back by about 50 years, setting us back to the time the war just ended, 1970. Because we had launched out to a new political relevance in Nigeria. And it was expected that with Anambra in the kitty, having won Anambra, that subsequent election in 2007 will give us the whole of the South, the remainder of the Southeast. And from there, we will reach out to all the ethnic nationalities that feel somehow marginalized in Nigeria, who could lean on our shoulders. Because many of them complained and said, yes, you are Igbo, you are our big brother, but we are not providing leadership. So we thought we have found a platform to provide political leadership that will bring others along to change the equation in Nigeria. All we are talking about through federalism, restructuring and all that would have taken very natural course. And Nigeria would have been the better for it. And the Igbo man will not be the second-class citizen that he is today. So what really happened to ABGA was more of a setback to Ndibo than it is to me. Yes, there's no doubt as a person that I also lost mileage and some comfort and purposes that ought to have come with that accomplishment. But I am more concerned about what my people lost. And so that was what, and those who hijacked it. Because I remember a cover story by the Newswatch magazine at that time that immediately captioned it, "Coup in Abga," with the photograph of the Modimo Wodugu covering the page and my own photograph at the one corner of the front page. And they saw it clearly for what it was. It was a coup, a political coup d'etat. And so, those who hijacked it did not share in the vision. They saw it as a cash cow that they could use to, some people recently now call it ATM. ATM wasn't popular then. And that is why the party has not grown beyond one state for a period of about 15 years. It has remained in one state. Whereas in that one outing we did 9 months after it was registered, we were able to win Anambra. We were able to get House of Rep in Imo, in Anambra, in Bayelsa State, and a few other state assembly seats in one outing that we did within 9 months of being registered. But it was in 2004 that the coup took place. The next year, just less than 2 years after registration. So if we had gone to 2007 election with that momentum, we would have been on the way to achieving our dream. But because some of us still believed in the dream, because dreams don't die. It's like spirits. What we did when we, after nearly 10 years of fighting in the courts, going forward and backwards, when we were talking about the travesty of justice in our courts, the corruption in our courts, not many people believed us because we were losing. But today everybody has seen the mess Nigerian court has become. And judges are now being treated like common criminals because of the quality, the poor quality of judgment they have been given. And the battle facing the judiciary today is how to cleanse the judiciary. And these things, I was a direct victim of serial travesty of justice. We never had a court make a pronouncement that Victor May was chairman of ABGA. It never happened. It's time because they couldn't find a way to say that a treasurer had suddenly transmuted to being chairman of ABGA. So once they are well induced, they will strike out our case on technical grounds. And so we found ourselves going back to the drawing table. That was how we stayed in court for 10 years without a court pronouncing Ume chairman, even as we speak. There's no sentence like that. So we decided that we couldn't just continue knocking our head on the walls. So let us proceed with the same dream. And we left. All the while we had the certificate of ABGA in our possession. Because no court ever said, this is the chairman, surrender the certificate to him. If I failed, of course, that would be contempt. But because nobody made that pronouncement, we remained with the certificate, and we took a voluntary decision, after consulting with my associates, to return the certificate to INEC. We scored another first. The very first to return the INEC certificate to the registering authority. We were the first to do it. We were not ordered by court to do so. And now we apply for another party. Of course, after the hurdles, we ended up with United Progressive Party, UPP, with the tiger head as a symbol. And while we are trying to build that one up, I suddenly found out that by doing that, I have now landed in another line of history. A new chapter opened for me, which is what I mentioned earlier, being one of 4 Nigerians that founded. And who are the other 3? You see the class that they forced me to belong, very big class. The class where our prefect was Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who founded Action Group and the Unity Party of Nigeria. And then the great Malam Aminu Kano, who founded NEPU, Northern Elements Progressive Union, and the People's Revolution Party, PRP. And another great man, Alhaji Waziri Ibrahim, who founded the NPP, Nigerian People's Party, and the GMP, Nigerian People's Party. And they little me, and they humble me. So sometimes, yes, we may have lost certain things, but history will record us for these very outstanding accomplishments. And now UPP is on the verge of a major resurgence, especially carrying the same people along. Yes, we may have had setbacks, but this is now a party, the only one of the motley crowd of political parties that have registered that is so ideologically switched on that it has self-determination in its manifesto, referendum, restructuring, restructuring, devolution of power, state police, community policing, the highlights of what contained in the 2014 National Conference and more, we have captured in our manifesto and the objective principles of our Constitution. So we are now ideologically separated from the others.
Anyway, you've said that in quotes, the hijack of APGA in 2004 was a big setback for the Igbos. Let's look at Igbos as we march towards 2019 and beyond.
Yeah.
How can the Igbos get back to relevance? The same dream you had when you founded APGA,
Yeah.
and the dream you still have.
Yes.
How will Igbos get back to relevance? Because today, the APGA you founded has remained a one-state party for almost 15 years. UPP is here, still facing teething problems, and you know. So, how do we get back to relevance?
Well, the Igbo dilemma now is worse than even when APGA was founded. Because the apathy of the average Igbo man to a matter of politics is so disturbing. I have never been so worried in my life as I am worried now. I tell you this, Igbo people have the second largest population in about 31 states of Nigeria's 36 states. And the largest population, by far, by almost 90%, in the remaining 5 states in the southeast, and by about 70% in the Federal Capital Territory that has the status of a state. So any ethnic group that has this enormous number and spread in Nigeria ought not to be politically irrelevant. Because in a democracy, what counts is number and spread, especially the Nigerian brand. But why am I worried? I am worried because when you come in terms of register, those who have the permanent voters card, PVC, among this large number I've talked to you about, we are by far less than those who have it in TV ethnic nationality, in Ijaw ethnic nationality, in most of the other ethnic nationalities. In other words, we are minority of minorities in terms of voting power. Whereas we should have been the one to determine the flow of power, who wins and who loses. And so the fundamental problem, therefore, is to go back to the drawing table and arouse again the political consciousness of the average Igbo to go and vote. I mean, go and register and obtain the voter's card, especially now that the continuous registration exercise is ongoing. And it will be ongoing, according to INEC, until 60 days to the general election of 2019. So we are working on that outside of the box of the UBP, but mobilizing all the concerned Igbo socio-cultural groups to go around Nigeria and even outside Nigeria, because most of our people outside have direct influence over their beneficiaries in Nigeria. So we want to get their consciousness back. And once that is done, it will reflect. INEC figures will reflect it. Because if you don't have the voter's card, you cannot vote. The dilemma of the Igbo is that you have a group called IPOB that says they will not vote, they will boycott the election. And if they are not giving a referendum, there will be no election. The same people had said that they are not Nigerians, that they are not going to participate in Nigerian politics. And so they did not register. They have no PVC. So if you don't have the permanent voter's card, how are you even going to vote? If you don't have the permanent voter's card and there happens to be a referendum, how are you going to participate in it? So there is real need to get my people out of political naivety, political illiteracy, political apathy, back to political consciousness.
You know, this IPOP thing you talked about, you know, not many Southeasterners understand the danger of don't vote, don't get the voters register. I mean, the voters card. Oh, we are not part of whatever that is happening.
Yes.
Like the perfect example you gave.
Yes.
How would you participate in a referendum if you didn't have a voter's card?
Yes.
How can a campaign be mounted to re-educate those of the Southeast that look, until you're out of Nigeria, you need to participate in those responsibilities of a citizen?
That is the responsibility of people like us now. Throughout this Yuletide, that our people return to the East in large numbers, most of us are not resting on our hours. We are not celebrating Christmas like others. We are reaching out, trying to educate them on what we are saying now, including using your medium now that I'm speaking, to reach out to your large audience, that we must, even to get out of Nigeria, you need your voter's card to do so. Except if you want to fight a war which nobody wants. But if you want to do it politically, democratically, you still need that voter's card to stay and be relevant, or to get out. Without it, you are going nowhere. So this is what we are trying to do. And we have a very short time to do it. We have between now and September next year. And that a short time, as far as I'm concerned, to cover the vast area called Nigeria. But we will get started. I do believe that come by September, really, the statistics in INEC, because that is where it shows, not what you claim on the street, will begin to show a new, a rejuvenated Igbo, a new Igbo awareness. I tell you what is happening now. We've lost that again, except something urgent happens. The APC has a northern president with a western vice president. And the team is rearing to go for a second term. The PDP has zoned its presidential ticket to the north. And they regard Southeast and South as the old Eastern region. And so to them, Eastern region has obtained the position of chairman of party. And when the West were complaining that they were skimmed out of chairmanship, the PDP assured them that they will get something bigger than chairmanship. Of course, the thing that is bigger than chairmanship is vice presidential slot. Because if you look at John Oyeguna, chairman of APC, you will know that the chairman of a ruling party is equivalent to He is just relevant to himself and nothing more than that. He controls no executive powers and has no clout to influence anything, especially of the type we have in Nigeria. So if PDP goes to the south west to pick his presidential vice presidential ticket, we return to the period where both Olufalaye and Obasanjo from the southwest were the sole candidates, and so their running mates came from the north. Head or tail, the Yoruba became president. We are heading there if nothing is done, and nobody knows which party that will control, and it's not likely a party will have the absolute control of the National Assembly as to zone the president or senate to anywhere. So that is not in the bargain. So for us in the political game, whilst we are trying to reawaken our people, we are also neck deep in building a third force. A third force that does not look like PDP or APC, because these are two sides of the same coin. A third force that is radically different, ideologically different, that can give fresh hope to Nigerians. And it's a third force that will not be purely Igbo. It will be Igbo and the other ethnic nationalities that feel the way we feel. And there are many of them, and that meeting is going on. I can assure you that by March, the third force will rear its head in a manner that will make Nigeria know that they have options.
Okay, let's hum it in. Let's bring it home. There's an ongoing debate in the southeast or between southeasterners. Some say, look, 2019 is our year. We should be contesting. We should not be found wanting. Some people say, including the Ohanese president, who says that the turn of the Igbos in 2023. Where do you stand?
My position is very clear. In June 2017, on the 29th of June, at Oka, a non-elected convention that UPP had, one of the resolutions, one of the highlights of that convention was the zoning of the UPP presidential slot to the Southeast zone for 2019. So it was already settled at the level of convention. The same way PDP zoned their own to the north, the same way the UPP zoned to the southeast. So it's settled that we are running. And I tell those who say 2023 that they should stop deceiving themselves and deceiving their own people. President Buhari is a perfect example. He waited for no turn. He consistently presented himself in different parties. Twice he presented himself in the AMPP. The third one he presented himself in CPC. The fourth one, which now succeeded, he presented himself in APC as presidential candidate. 3 parties, 4 times, consecutively. Waited for nobody's turn. And they eventually got it. So this thing about turn doesn't really exist anywhere. Now, for the Ohanese, I feel really disappointed that my good friend, Chief Miyamoto, the President General, a politician of note, a lawyer, an economist, well exposed, my age mate, so to say. So he's not a child. To sit back and say, it will be our turn in 2023. Who gave him that? Ohanese is not within the purview of Ohanese to even make such conjecture. Afani Fere wouldn't make such a naive statement. Arewa would never say anything like that. Ohanese should be more concerned than myself on the issue of general apathy of Igbo people.
Okay, but let me ask you, Chief Okorie, is it just for an Igbo candidate to be presented for the sake of being presented? Or is it that you're presenting an Igbo candidate to win is there a possibility that any Igbo candidate, not just in UPP, in any political party, could win the presidency in 2019?
Yes.
What makes you think so?
For instance, the Fulanis that are ruling Nigeria today are less than 10% of the Nigerian population. The Fulanis. Less than 10% of Nigerian population. Igbo people constitute almost 30% of the population of Nigeria, and I explained it earlier in this. And you have other ethnic nationalities. I've mentioned the rest. Nigeria has about 398 ethnic nationalities as at the last count. Practically every other ethnic nationality wants some bit of self-determination, wants some freedom to develop at its own pace. The latitude. They feel hemmed in, they feel enslaved. But they cannot express that by force of arm. It's only by the democratic means. And so a platform has to be available for that. And that leadership has to be provided. And that is why we are working on this issue of third force, reaching out to others like that. Nothing would have stopped Dr. Alex, the late Dr. Alex from becoming president if there was no coup. But that coup was to stop him. So he could have been president and unable. But the coup obviously, even Omaro, the late Omaro Diko, confessed that the coup was to stop Dr. Alex. So there's nothing impossible about an Igbo person who has the right type of message and the right type of outreach, who is carrying other ethnic nationalities along from winning a popular democratic contest. The prospects are there. And that is why I said, first thing first, get the people, get their consciousness back. Let them be aware of what power that God has already given them. God gave them number, God gave them spread. I have said this before in one of your programs. I have been to Guzo, where I found an Igbo settlement that was there 400 years by the year 2000. So if we are this well spread and well entrenched, the only thing that is lacking is the education, the political education, to arouse their consciousness, to take other people along and make it.
I've heard people say, especially those that are talking about 2023, that look, it might be nice for the Igbos to support the candidature, probably of Buhari for a second term, so that at the end of that term, the Igbos can lay a claim to the presidency in 2023.
Nothing can be more naive than that type of position. You have President Buhari, who is enjoying the best of loyalties and comradeship from his running mate, his vice president. That he could be out of the country on hair grant for 100 days, and he came back and everywhere was as if he never left. Such loyalty is rare. And I commend Usibanjo for that. And he continues all the way to another 4 years. And then the way Buhari will reward him for such loyalty will be to go and look for Igbo man. I've never heard anything more naive than that when I hear some people, including my younger brother Chewas Okorie, tell people that Buhari will give us hand over to the Igbo man. I begin to wonder whether they are saying it because they just want Buhari to smile at them, or that they thought through it before coming out with such pedestrian naivety. No, it's not possible.
But, but if this third force you're talking about does not pull it in 2019, and it either goes to APC or goes to PDP, what happens to you?
We would have made though I don't enter into any race looking at the negative side, but be that as it may, that third force is not an army that we will say if he fails to win it to go to war. It would have made such impact that it would have positioned itself better for even that 2023 you are talking about. But
so you could help 2023
yes, you can,
from your own permutation.
You have to get started on a very serious note and aim at winning. Failing which you try again. And like I said, Buhari tried 4 times as an individual, relocating from one party to another. So what about
looking for new friendships and
new friendships and new alliances?
Yeah.
And until it happened. So why wouldn't the third force believe in its own ideological inclination to make Nigeria a better place, to restructure Nigeria, to have devolution of power, to give to the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria the things they have been dreaming of and wishing? And if it's not able to work, at least there will be places that we will have. We should be able to occupy some seats in the Senate. We should be able to occupy some seats in the National Assembly. We should be able to occupy some governorship positions, even in the attempt that of not winning, in the event of not winning the presidential election, so that you now continue to promote that ideology, that vision, and the governments that you control, whether it is local government or state government, you begin to use those governments to show what you would have done had you been given the opportunity to preside.
But what may happen to this dream of yours of an Igbo presidency in 2019 if the third force does not provide the platform like zoning of the presidency to an Igbo man?
The third force is definitely going to be a product of very hard negotiations.
Yeah, because the other ethnic nationalities are coming there with hopes, dreams,
There have been negotiations.
and objectives.
There have been negotiations. And that is why I continue to hammer and emphasize on the issue of the arousing our people's consciousness. Because when you are coming to a negotiation table, you have to put something on the table. You can say, my people, Igbo people, listen to our voice. And their voting power is X%. And this is where they have cast their political lot. With this number, we need your own to be able to make it. But without this number, your own will not carry you far enough. That is the negotiation we are talking about. In that case, you say, okay, we'll bring our number to your big number, but what do we occupy in the process? So all these negotiations will be what will now make the third force, we bind it together. Nobody will follow you sheepishly. But you cannot present yourself as a third force or leader of a third force if you continue to parade a large population of politically ignorant and naive people. So that is why the fundamental thing must start, party or no party. It is a malaise, it's a political disease that must be frontally attacked.
Okay, talking about attacking diseases that are holding the Igbos down, let's talk about our leaders, people in positions. I've interviewed a lot of Igbo intelligentsia and Igbo leaders, and one of the things you hear is marginalization of the Igbos. It's said so much that sometimes the Igbo leaders are sounding like a crack record. You know, I was just interviewing somebody recently, and we talked about the Jonathan years, where the Igbos occupied very important positions: finance minister, secretary to government, so many. Port Harcourt Enugu Road, nothing happened. Onisha, Enugu, nothing happened. So many infrastructural defects, no intervention. How can we use what we have to get what we want? How can our governors become more innovative, come together and say, okay, the Southeast, let's collaborate on this and this and this.
Yes.
So we can even, liberate ourselves before we start blaming those outside the Southeast.
As a matter of fact, for several years, because I've been in this for quite about 4 decades now, for several years I was almost branded Mr. Marginalization, because there was hardly anything I said those years I would not raise the issue of Igbo marginalization. But after sounding like broken record, like you said, I said to myself, for how long can we be crying marginalization? Is there no way we can assist ourselves? And then, of course, this idea that we should have our own platform, elect our own kind of persons, and be able to implement our own programs, irrespective of what the federal government thinks, using the powers that the Constitution of the country has already given to us. That was all of the things that came into the vision of ABGA we're talking about. All of this. What we have is not about, when people talk about those who have been appointed in important positions, I laugh. No ethnic group or geopolitical zone has been developed by the people, the number of people appointed in positions. As a matter of fact, it's the number of people that you have in the National Assembly, if they are truly pro the people they are representing. Because that is where budgets are made. Budgets are presented. And they are the ones who study these budgets and see the allocations, whether they are equitable or not. They are the ones who are going to say, this budget is lopsided. We are also a part of this country. We have not seen what we have provided for these areas. And they will make the point, and they will get a fairer allocation of resources. And they've joined in oversight functions to ensure that not only that more funds are provided, but they are released to implement those projects. Because sometimes, yes, you can see a budget that looks balanced, but when it comes to implementation, only certain sections get their own budgets implemented. That is what has kept this area undeveloped. The Igbo people you are talking about that were appointed into those positions were like liabilities to the Igbo. Because if you see, Jonathan and the other Nigerian players use those appointments to sedate our people. We got so politically sedated that we went to bed and said, oh, Jonathan is even Azikiwe. He's even a bear. We started giving him nicknames. It's just to give ourselves a sense of appropriating him to ourselves. When the thing amounted to nothing tangible. We only woke up to find out that Jonathan has lost his position and there's nothing to show for it. For all the Azikiwes and the Bere of this world. So I am not impressed by appointments. When I opposed Buhari and I continue to oppose him, it is because of his neglect of the area, our area, in terms of physical development.
How about our governors? How about, because when we keep talking about marginalization, how about the governors of the South?
You are right, yeah.
And Okorocha is serially being accused by people in Imo, people of Imo, people outside Imo, that he is not prioritizing in the right direction. I mean, you find statutes everywhere, parties of birthdays of the wife, birthdays of himself, birthdays of friends, and all that. Then you have the other governors in the Southeast not able to pay salaries. You have governors in the Southeast not, doing anything infrastructurally. And leaders of the Southeast are sitting down and not saying anything and blaming some people in Abuja.
Yes, you are absolutely right there. Most of the people you call leaders here have no more balls. They are cowards. They can no longer speak out. They have been so intimidated. They don't want to become exiles in their own country. Many of them can't go home once they hold a contrary view because of the Gestapo style that these governors are adopting. But I tell you something that should worry everybody who is Igbo. Northwest has 7 states. All of the governors there are of the same party, APC. The entire senators in the 7 states are APC. The whole of the House of Representatives in the whole 7 states of Northwest are APC. The implication is that it is easier for them to draw up a common program, an integrated program for Northwest, and implement it if they have that creativity, which they don't have, but which we have in abundance, but we lack the synergy
And cohesiveness
to be able to do that. 5 states only, 3 political parties operating there: ABGA, APC, PDP. This is not what I envisaged 15 years ago. And we are still alive trying to see whether we can get back. And God willing, if we're able to return Southeast to some uniformity under a political party that can bring them to implement certain integrated blueprint, developmental blueprint, the Southeast is the easiest place to develop. One, its land area is manageable, is not very large, and you have immense human capital wasting. See graduates of very specialized areas who are riding Okada. It's so painful. Southeast can become a technological hub, like the Silicon Valley. This thing contained in my presidential manifesto when I campaigned in 2015. It can become an industrial hub in which one state can emphasize its area of comparative advantage, and then the other state can emphasize its own, and at the end of the day, the 5 states, you will begin to wonder whether they belong to this country. The governors you have here can give our young men and women who are hounded in prisons for doing virtually nothing certain sense of belonging, and they will begin to rebuild their sense of patriotism by exercising their power of prerogative, of mercy, of releasing all of those who have not committed any crimes and they are thrown into detention. They have the power to do it. All this infighting between the governors, the governments here, and our young men in IPOB and Masoro is because our governors are not showing that they can provide that security for which they are chief security officers. Look at Fayose of Ekiti State. Look at Wike of Rivers State. These are governors that are exercising their powers from the same constitution that these our governors derive their own powers. And you think our governors are mostly people posted to some satellite state to go and be reporting to their masters somewhere. You begin to wonder, is it the same power that Wike, Fayose have that these people have? So there is need, therefore, to take this type of education back to the people and see whether the 2019 general election can effect certain changes. My only worry is the commercialization and monetization of the electoral process, which even has given the same governors the advantage that they can do as they wish, because they have they first pauperize the people, make them vulnerable, and then turn back to buy their votes. But if the efforts we are making at the electronic voting system and improving the technology of our democratic process, strike the right chord, especially at the level of the president, who is inclined to introducing more technology in the electoral process. That much he has said to the leadership of UPP that paid him a visit at one time. then the people's vote will count. So first, let the people have the vote. Second, let their votes count. And then you will see that the people are not happy with the type of governance that we have been condemned with. Yeah.
Chief Chewas Okorie, I must thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
My pleasure all the time.
Yes, I've been speaking with Chief Chewas Okorie, the founder of APGA and the current chairman, national chairman of the UPP. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Thanks for watching.